My parents left me out of my sister's party. So, I did what any sane person would do. I booked a first-class trip to Bali. And the moment they saw my posts online, the carefully planned party completely unraveled in hours. I'm Lena, and I need to get this off my chest because what happened last weekend has permanently damaged my connection with my family. This is going to be long, but trust me, the ending is worth it. For context, I'm 25, a marketing manager at a tech firm in Portland, and I've always been the black sheep of my family. My younger sister, Sophie, is 22, a nurse, engaged to her college sweetheart, Ryan, and, in my parents' eyes, practically flawless. Meanwhile, I moved across the country for my career, chose not to have kids, and have always lived life on my own terms. Sure, the favoritism has been obvious for years, but I had learned to manage it. What happened last weekend, though, went beyond anything I could have imagined. It all started on Wednesday during my lunch break when my mom, Iris, called. She sounded nervous, a rare thing for her. "Hey, sweetie. Just wanted to let you know that Sophie and Ryan are having a little get-together this Tuesday. Nothing fancy, just a casual evening with some close friends." I thought it was weird that she was telling me about a party I wasn't invited to, but I brushed it off. "Okay, sounds fun for them," I said. "Exactly. Really low-key. Just dinner and drinks with some folks." Her unusual tone didn't set off alarms yet, but Tuesday evening changed everything. My cousin Nora called, furious. "Lena, please tell me you're joking about not going to Sophie's party tomorrow." My blood ran cold. "What party?" "The one your whole family has been planning for months," she said. "Catered dinner, professional photographer, custom decorations. Ryan's parents flew in from Austin, and your extended family is driving hours to attend." I sank onto my couch, trying to process her words. "Nora, Mom specifically told me it was just a casual get-together with close friends." "Lena, there are 62 people invited. I have the invitation right here. It says, 'Join us for an elegant evening celebrating Sophie and Ryan's engagement.' This is not casual." Nora sent me photos of the gold foil invitation, complete with RSVP cards. My hands were shaking as I dialed my mom. "Mom, I just found out about Sophie's real party tomorrow." A long pause. "Oh, honey, like I said, it's just a small gathering." "Small?" 62 people, catering, decorations, a professional photographer. Why wasn't I invited to my own sister's party? Another sigh. "Well," Sophie thought, "we all thought it might be better if you weren't there. You know how you can be sometimes. How I can be." "What does that mean?" "Lena, you tend to make things about yourself. And with your lifestyle so different from Sophie's, we thought it'd be more comfortable for everyone if this was more of a traditional celebration." I was stunned. My family deliberately excluded me from one of my sister's biggest life events and lied about it. "Mom, I'm her sister. Her only sister." "I understand, dear. But Sophie wants this day to be perfect. She's worried you might say something inappropriate, or that people will ask why you're still single, or that your job will keep you so far away. She just wants to celebrate with Ryan's family and close friends without any complications." The word complications hit me like a slap. That's how they saw me, a complication. I see. Well, I hope Sophie has her perfect day. I hung up and cried. I was hurt, furious, and deeply disappointed. This was how they repaid me for everything I'd done for the family, paying Dad's medical bills after his heart attack, helping with the mortgage when he lost his job, showing up for every holiday no matter the cost. Then something shifted. I wiped my tears and started plotting. I'd been saving for a trip for months, but kept postponing it because of work. I had enough money to do something extraordinary, and I knew exactly what I was going to do. I called my best friend, Ava, who works at a high-end travel firm. "Ava, I need you to work a miracle. I want the most incredible solo trip you can arrange for this weekend, starting tomorrow morning. Money is no object. Lena, it's Friday night. Everything will be booked already. Please, Ava. I'm desperate. My family just showed me exactly what they think of me, and I need to do something amazing for myself." By midnight, Ava had worked her magic. A weekend at the Ritz-Carlton Bali, First-class flights included ocean view room, private beach cabana, spa treatments, and even a sunset helicopter tour. I didn't mind that the total exceeded my usual 2-month spending limit. It was worth every penny. Tuesday morning, as my family got ready for Sophie's small gathering, I boarded a first-class plane to Santorini. I shared every moment on social media, not out of spite, but as a way to celebrate my life and prove to myself that I deserved wonderful experiences, even if my family didn't agree. My first post, a photo of my first-class seat and a glass of champagne. Sometimes you have to celebrate yourself. Off on a spontaneous solo adventure to Bali. Here's to new beginnings and knowing your worth. The responses were instant. Friends were thrilled. Some coworkers were jealous. My college buddy Mila wrote, "This is why I love you, Lena. Living your best life." When I arrived in Bali, I snapped a photo of the resort's grand entryway, surrounded by lush tropical plants. Paradise found. Sometimes the best company really is your own. Solo travel, Bali. Life. Living my best life. The room was breathtaking, floor-to-ceiling windows over the Pacific, a private terrace, a marble bathroom with a soaking tub, champagne, and chocolate-covered strawberries waiting. I posted a shot of the view with a caption, "Room with a view. Grateful for jobs that let you have adventures like this. Blessed." Ocean. Self-care. But the true highlight came when I stepped into my private beach cabana. That doesn't make any sense, Mom. People are talking about how horribly you treated me. Ryan's family is upset. Aunt Hillary chewed everyone out in front of the guests, and now you're saying I have to fix this. Sophie suddenly grabbed the phone. She was sobbing, but her voice came sharp through the line. "Lena, you're being so selfish. You knew this was my party, and you went and planned that trip just to ruin it." I almost laughed from how absurd that was. "Sophie, I didn't even know it was your party. Mom told me it was a casual hangout with a few friends. I only learned the truth from Nora yesterday." "That's not true. You knew, and you did this to hurt me." "I literally had no idea," I shot back. "Check the timestamps on my booking if you don't believe me. I bought my ticket after I found out I wasn't invited to what Mom called a casual dinner." Then Ryan's voice came through, calm but serious. "Lena, I'm really sorry. I had no clue you weren't invited. I thought maybe you couldn't make it because of work or the distance. If I'd known, I would have demanded you be there." "Ryan, none of this is on you," I said. "You didn't know my family had decided I wasn't a sister worth celebrating. To them, I was just a complication to manage." The calls kept pouring in all night. Thank God for my international phone plan, even though I knew I'd regret the roaming charges later. My dad, David, called crying, apologizing over and over. Aunt Hillary called to say how proud she was of me and that my parents owed me a massive apology. Nora kept me updated on the chaos happening back at the party. But the most surprising call came the next morning, Tuesday, from Ryan's mom, Mrs. Whitman. "Lena, I got your number from Nora," she said gently. "I wanted to call and apologize for last night." "Mrs. Whitman, you don't need to apologize. You didn't do anything wrong. I just feel awful. We celebrated and party while Ryan's future sister-in-law was intentionally left out. That's not how family is supposed to work." Her words touched me more than she realized. "I appreciate that. Truly." She hesitated, then added, "I want you to know Ryan and Sophie are going to have some very serious conversations about family before this wedding goes forward. Ryan is rethinking a few things." That same afternoon, Ryan sent me a long text. "Lena, I've been up all night thinking about what happened. I'm disgusted that my future in-laws excluded you and then lied about it. But what really gets me is Sophie's reaction. Instead of apologizing, she blamed you for ruining her day, even though you're the one who was wronged. I've decided we're going to couples counseling, and I'm insisting your entire family attend family therapy. I won't tie myself to a family that treats people this way. I need to see real changes in how they treat you before I move forward with wedding plans." I was stunned. Ryan was standing up for me in a way my own blood never had. Meanwhile, my social media was blowing up. People kept commenting things like, "You look so happy," and "This is what real self-care looks like." A few close friends pieced together the timing and left supportive notes. Good for you for choosing yourself. And honestly, they weren't wrong. I was having the time of my life. The helicopter tour on Tuesday was unreal. I spotted whales from the air, soared over volcanoes, and watched the sunset splash the ocean in colors I didn't know existed. I snapped a photo from the helicopter with a caption, "Sometimes you have to rise above everything to see just how beautiful life really is." Grateful for this perspective. By Tuesday morning, I was packing to leave the island when Sophie called again. Her voice was different this time, not crying, not angry, just tired, defeated. "Lena, Ryan says he's not sure about the wedding anymore." I took a deep breath. "Sophie, I'm sorry you're going through that.
But this isn't about me.
It's about the way our family treats people and how you reacted when you got caught. You ruined my party by going to Santorini."
No.
I went to Santorini because I learned I was deliberately excluded from my own sister's party and lied to about it. I chose a beautiful trip for myself instead of sitting at home crying. That's not ruining your party. That's me choosing my happiness over your drama. But everyone was talking about you instead of celebrating me. Do you even hear yourself? People were talking because you excluded your sister. That's not something I did to you. That's something you chose. There was a long silence. Finally, she muttered, "Ryan wants me to apologize to you. Do you want to apologize to me?"
I asked.
Another pause. Then, coldly, "I don't think I did anything wrong by wanting my party to be perfect." "Then we don't have anything else to say." I hung up, and this time, I blocked her number. The flight back was bittersweet. I'd just had the best weekend of my life, but I knew I was returning to a family that might never look the same again. When I landed, I saw 17 missed calls from my parents and a dozen texts begging me to make things right with Sophie. But before I dealt with them, I needed to face the truth. On Wednesday evening, sitting alone in my apartment with photos from Bali, still glowing on my phone, I started replaying all the red flags I'd ignored over the years. Like my college graduation, when my parents spent the entire ceremony talking about Sophie's acceptance into nursing school. At dinner afterward, every conversation circled back to her achievements. When relatives asked about my marketing degree, Mom immediately pivoted to Sophie's clinical rotations. Or the time I got promoted to marketing manager at 26, the youngest in the company's history. I called home bursting with excitement, and Dad's response was, "That's nice, honey. Did we tell you Sophie made the top student recognition again?" Then there was that Christmas I flew home after grinding through 18-hour days just to make the trip. I brought expensive gifts for everyone, but Sophie had forgotten to get me anything. Mom quietly handed her one of my own gifts and told me she felt bad. We didn't want her to be embarrassed. And of course, the memory that stung the most, when Dad had his heart attack 3 years ago. I wired $5,000 on the spot to cover the deductible and medical bills. At the time, I thought I was doing the right thing for my family. Looking back now, maybe that was just another way they learned to take me for granted. I didn't stop to think twice, didn't ask for any kind of repayment plan. I just sent the money because that's what family is supposed to do, right? 7 months later, though, when I was dealing with my own financial mess after my car got wrecked and the insurance payout didn't come close to covering it, I asked if they could spot me a short-term loan of $1,500. I told them I'd pay it back in 3 months, with interest, no questions asked. "Oh, honey, we're still catching up from your dad's medical bills," my mom said. "Maybe you could ask your company for an advance." 3 weeks after that, Nora told me my parents had given Sophie $1,500 to help her move in with Ryan. "They're so generous," she added, almost admiringly. Sophie had been stressing about making the apartment look nice, especially since Ryan's parents would be seeing it, so my folks pitched in. Meanwhile, I was maxing out a credit card cash advance just to keep my car on the road, while they played interior designers for Sophie's love nest. And the mortgage situation? That one stings even more when I look back. 1 year earlier, Dad got laid off, and they were 3 months behind on their mortgage. Foreclosure notices had already started rolling in. I drained every penny of my emergency fund, $11,000, to cover the back payments and buy them some breathing room. "Lena, you saved our home," Dad said, tears in his eyes. "We'll pay you back as soon as I find a job."
And he did.
He landed an amazing new job, actually making more money than he ever had before. But instead of paying me back, they used that new financial comfort to throw Sophie a massive graduation bash when she finished nursing school. The party had to cost at least $9,000. I knew because Nora helped plan it and mentioned that just the catering bill was $4,000. When I gently brought up repayment after seeing the pictures of the celebration, my mom got defensive. "Lena, we're still finding our footing. And Sophie's graduation was a once-in-a-lifetime event. Surely you understand that." But apparently my $12,000 sacrifice to save their home wasn't a once-in-a-lifetime event. It was just family duty. The more I thought about it, the more I realized the pattern had always been there. Every holiday, I spent money I didn't really have on flights home, trying to show up for family. Sophie, on the other hand, drove 2 hours, maybe spending $50 on gas. And yet, I was always the one accused of being distant, of never making enough time for family. When Sophie was stressed about her nursing boards, I spent weeks on the phone with her every night, quizzing her, talking her through her nerves, being her emotional crutch. But when I was living through hell with a boss who was sexually assaulting me, I called home desperate for support, and what I heard was, "Well, maybe you should ask yourself if moving so far away from family was really worth it, since your job is giving you so much trouble." No offer to help me find a lawyer. No outrage on my behalf. Not even a real follow-up question. Just a lecture implying I'd brought it on myself by leaving. Yet when Sophie had a disagreement with a patient's family at work, everyone circled the wagons. Dad researched her rights as a healthcare worker. Mom actually called the hospital administration to complain. And at dinner that week, the whole family strategized ways Sophie could handle tough situations at work. Same kind of problem, wildly different level of support. Even my professional wins didn't land the right way. When I got published in a local business journal for a marketing strategy one designed, the one that grew our company's client base by 30%, I was thrilled. I share it proudly with my family. Sophie's response? "Must be nice to have a job where people write articles about you. I save lives every day as a nurse, but no one writes about that." And my parents? Instead of celebrating my accomplishment, they echoed her. "Sophie has such a humble heart. She helps people without needing recognition." So my success wasn't celebrated. It was painted as vanity, compared to Sophie's selfless heroism. And the dating double standards? Brutal. I'd been single for a year after breaking up with Liam, my ex who wanted me to give up my career, move back home, and start a real life with him. I chose myself and my work instead. My family's response was constant pressure about my biological clock, snide comments about being too picky, and gentle reminders that sometimes women need to make sacrifices to find love. But when Sophie moved in with Ryan just 5 months into dating, then got engaged 8 months later, everyone applauded her decisiveness. She knows what she wants. She's not wasting time. Same choices, completely different labels depending on which daughter made them. The longer I thought about it, the clearer it became. That whole party fiasco wasn't some weird outlier. It was just the latest chapter in years of being treated like a background character in my own family story. I was the daughter who could always be counted on for money, for emotional support, for picking up the pieces, but never the daughter they wanted front and center for the milestones. Reliable enough to save their home, but somehow too embarrassing to invite to the celebrations. And weirdly enough, realizing that was freeing. I'd spent years twisting myself inside out to earn their approval, thinking if I worked hard enough, they'd finally treat me fairly. But the truth is, the deck had always been stacked. Sophie was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. I was the difficult one, useful, dependable, but never truly valued. That Thursday, Nora called with more news about the fallout from the party. "Lena, you should know people are still talking about it. Not in a gossip way. People are actually upset about how you were treated." "What do you mean?" I asked. "Well, Ryan's Aunt Vivian pulled me aside at the grocery store. She told me she'd been thinking about the party all week, and it made her sick to her stomach. She kept saying, that poor girl was in Santorini posting those beautiful pictures, smiling, while her family was celebrating without her. How could they exclude their own daughter? Nora added, and on Tuesday after church, Mrs. Varela came up to my mom. She said she'd seen my Santorini pictures online and wanted to know why I hadn't been at Sophie's party. Mom mumbled something vague about distance and timing, but Mrs. Varela wasn't buying it. Iris, that girl got on a plane to Santorini the same day as the party. If she could make it there, she could have been here, if she'd been invited. How did Mom react? I asked Nora later. Aunt Hillary was standing right there, she said. Your mom just dodged the question and changed the subject. But by then, the story was out. Mrs. Varela had told a handful of people, and soon there was this quiet buzz. People were starting to question how my parents had handled the whole thing. That part fascinated me. The fallout wasn't just about Ryan's family being angry. Now the larger community was beginning to see the truth.
There's more, Nora added.
Ryan's cousin Lucian, the one getting married next spring, he specifically told his fiancée to make sure you're on the wedding guest list. He said, after watching Ryan's future sister-in-law get excluded from her own family's party, I don't want to make that kind of mistake with anyone important. That's really thoughtful of them, I told her. Nora nodded. Lena, people are using what happened as a cautionary tale. They're literally going back through their guest lists, double-checking that no one gets left out. Your situation is making people rethink how they treat their own family. The ripple effects were bigger than I ever imagined. My parents' favoritism wasn't just our private drama anymore. It was sparking a broader conversation about family and fairness. Then on Wednesday, I got a call from Mila, one of my closest friends from college. We'd been freshman roommates and stayed connected on social media, though we hadn't talked in months. Lena, I hope I'm not overstepping, she began, but I saw your Santorini photos, and I've been thinking about them ever since.
Thanks, I said.
It really was an incredible trip. The thing is, she continued, I remember how you used to talk about your family back in college. You were always stressed out, always worried about not being enough for them, always trying to earn love and approval. Looking at those Santorini pictures, you looked different.
Happier.
Genuinely happy, in a way I haven't seen from you in years. I had forgotten how much I'd confided in her during those late-night dorm talks. And then, she added, I realized the timing. Your sister's party was happening at the same time, right? And it just clicked. Lena, you chose yourself over their dysfunction. You could have spent that weekend being miserable about being excluded, but instead, you gave yourself your own celebration. You looked radiant in those photos because, for once, you were putting your happiness first. Her words hit me hard because she was right. It wasn't just the beauty of Santorini that showed on my face. It was the joy of finally celebrating myself instead of begging for their approval. I've been thinking about it a lot, Mila admitted, because I've been dealing with a similar dynamic in my own family. Not as extreme as yours, but that same constant need to prove I'm worthy of love. And seeing you choose yourself, it made me realize I need to make some changes too. Really? I asked. Yeah, she said. I've been dating this guy, Leo. My parents hate it because he's an artist and not in some respectable career path. I've been hiding our relationship, feeling ashamed, trying to make them happy. But your trip, it hit me. I can't keep shrinking myself just to fit their expectations. This weekend, I'm telling them, if they can't be happy for me, that's their problem. But I'm done hiding. I was stunned and proud. My choice to walk away from dysfunction had inspired her to stop hiding her own happiness. Maybe this wasn't just about me after all. Maybe my situation was helping other people stand up for themselves too. Then on Friday night, something happened I never saw coming. I got a text from Ryan. Lena, would you be willing to talk? I know it's a weird situation, but I'd really value your perspective on a few things. Curious, I called him. Hey, Ryan. How are you holding up with everything? Honestly, not great, he admitted. I've been doing a lot of thinking this week about families, about how people treat each other. And I keep circling back to the party. I'm sorry this has been so stressful for you, Lena. Can I ask you something straight? Go ahead. Has your family always treated you this way? I hesitated, trying to gauge how honest to be. What do you mean? I mean, have you always been the one who gives more than you get back? The one expected to accommodate everyone else, but never accommodated in return? Why do you ask? I said carefully. Because I've been replaying all my interactions with your family these past 2 years, he told me, and I'm noticing patterns I didn't see before. You're always the one traveling for family events. Conversations about your accomplishments somehow end up about Sophie instead. You're asked for advice, for money, for support, but you're left out of the actual celebrations. Lena, that party wasn't some freak one-off, was it? No, Ryan, I said quietly. It was just the most obvious example of a pattern that's been there for years.
He paused.
I need to ask you something else. Do you think Sophie realizes how unevenly you're treated? That was the question I'd always avoided. Finally, I said, I think she benefits from the way things are, and she's chosen not to look too closely at it. Whether that's denial or willful blindness, I'm not sure it matters. That's what I was afraid of, Ryan said softly. Why are you asking me this? I asked him. Because I'm trying to figure out what I'm marrying into, he said plainly. Am I about to marry someone who actively treats her sister badly, or someone who just goes along with her parents' example, without realizing it? And I'm starting to think it might be the first one. My chest tightened. What makes you say that? Her reaction, he said, when she got caught leaving you out. She wasn't shocked or apologetic. She was angry at you for living your life, for posting pictures. That's not the response of someone who made an innocent mistake. That's the response of someone who thought she had the right to exclude you and then got mad when she couldn't hide it anymore. Ryan seemed to see the problem more clearly than I had expected. He told me that the more he thought about it, the more he realized that she had never once expressed any regret over how my family treated me. She never stood up for me or questioned whether things were fair. Instead, she just enjoyed being the favorite, never stopping to consider the cost it had on me. Ryan, I don't want to be the reason your relationship ends, I said. Lena, you're not the reason. Her character is what caused this. The party just made it impossible to ignore the truth. After we hung up, I realized that Ryan's questions had helped me see a critical point clearly. This wasn't just about my parents' favoritism anymore. Sophie was an adult who consciously chose to leave me out and felt no guilt when it was discovered. That alone said a lot about her character. Tuesday morning, I woke up with more clarity than I'd had in years. I made myself a hearty breakfast, sat on the balcony with my coffee, and started gearing up to call my parents. I dialed, and as soon as they answered, I laid it out. Lena, David, we need to have a serious conversation. What happened this weekend wasn't about some party. It was about you deciding I'm an embarrassment to this family and then lying to my face about it. Lena, that's not true, David protested. David, you left me out of one of the most important moments in Sophie's life because you assumed I'd cause drama. Then, when I discovered it and decided to do something positive for myself instead of wallowing, you called me selfish for not fixing the mess you created. My only goal was to make Sophie's day perfect, my mom said. And you decided that meant I couldn't be there. Do you understand how it feels to know your own family thinks your presence would ruin a celebration that matters to them? I asked. There was silence. And instead of apologizing when you were caught, you tried to make me responsible for fixing it. You wanted me to fly home from Santorini just to make Sophie feel better about excluding me. The room stayed quiet. I kept going. Here's what's going to happen. I'm done being treated like a second-class member of this family. I'm done being expected to contribute financially and emotionally while being left out of important events. I'm done being labeled selfish when I prioritize my own well-being over your drama. Lena, what exactly are you saying? My mom asked. I'm saying that until you can acknowledge what you did wrong and make real changes, I'm not participating in family events. I won't be coming home for holidays, I won't contribute to family expenses, and I won't be available for crisis management. You can't be serious, David said. I'm completely serious, I replied. I spent this weekend in paradise, being celebrated by strangers at a resort, while my own family was excluding me from a party. That told me everything I need to know about my priorities. The aftermath has been interesting. Ryan postponed the wedding indefinitely. He told Nora that he couldn't marry into a family that treated people the way mine did, and that he didn't believe Sophie understood why what she did was wrong. Some extended family reached out to say they were proud of how I handled things. Others tried to convince me to be the bigger person and reconcile with Sophie. My parents swung between apologizing and guilting me into coming home. Sophie took to social media, posting heartbreaking messages about family betrayal and people who abandon you when you need them most. But here's the truth. I've never been happier with myself. That weekend in Santorini was more than a vacation. It was a promise to myself that I value my own happiness enough to choose it over other people's problems. I spent years trying to win love from people who had already decided I wasn't worthy of celebration. Now I'm planning more solo adventures, setting boundaries with my family that I should have drawn years ago, and focusing on relationships with people who genuinely want me around. My employer recently promoted me, citing my newfound confidence and advocacy for myself. Friends keep saying I seem different, happier, more confident, more alive. 3 months later, Ryan and Sophie broke up. Ryan told Nora that the party situation exposed him to things he hadn't noticed before, and Sophie's refusal to take responsibility was the deal breaker. Of course, Sophie tried to blame me, but Nora assured me that Ryan's decision had nothing to do with me. It was all about Sophie's personality and our family's dysfunction. My parents begged me to come home and support Sophie during the breakup. I told them she had made it clear she only wants her sister around when it's convenient for her. When she wanted to celebrate anything meaningful, she treated me like I was too much trouble to include. Next month, I'm taking another solo trip, this time to Japan. I'll savor incredible food, explore ancient ruins, and celebrate the fact that I finally respect myself enough to walk away from people who don't value me. Sometimes the best revenge isn't paying people back. It's living a life so joyful that they realize what they lost by letting you go. Friends still comment on my Santorini photos, saying how radiant and happy I look. And I do. For the first time in years, I put myself first, and it felt amazing. That weekend showed me I don't need my family's permission to enjoy life. I can throw my own parties, travel on my own, and create my own joy. And honestly, the view in Santorini was far more breathtaking than any drama at Sophie's party. Fast forward 6 months. I'm engaged to an amazing man I met at work, someone who loves my independence and respects my self-worth. We're planning a small destination wedding in Kyoto. My family is invited, but only if they can genuinely celebrate our happiness without bringing their own issues into it. Ironically, Sophie's failed engagement happened because she couldn't treat her own sister with basic respect, yet I found love with someone who cherishes exactly the qualities my family once criticized. Being excluded from the incorrect party is sometimes the finest thing that can happen to you, since it gives you the opportunity to locate the appropriate celebration.